So you were a psychologist, you know, and you were working in California. If what you have said to me is true, you had a house on Malibu or the beach. You were making money. Women still liked you at that point. Life was sweet. You know, you were helping people, we hope. And you gave it up to go study fiction. So, you know, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that particular sort of choice? Let's call it a crisis to dramatize it. Stand to break it. And so, and you came to the University of Arizona, and you were initially in the poetry program, and you switched to fiction writing. Although you still do write poems, and they're far, far better than the poems you once wrote. They're actually very interesting. Secret Life, Boswell. She showed me some really kind of amazingly original poems. But in crayon, they're written in crayon. And they have a lot of good illustrations. So why don't you tell us about that move, you know, you know, how does the profession of psychology and the profession of fiction, how did that segue work for you?
Okay, so I wasn't actually a psychologist, I was a counselor. And it wasn't actually Malibu, it was Mission Beach in San Diego. The car was blue, not red.
Really?
But,
even when it was angry?
oh my. No, and I was actually accidentally saving money. That's never happened to me again. I made more money than I needed. And I had a great roommate, my buddy Eddie Rios, who we played basketball. We've been on the basketball team together in high school. And I had a girlfriend who was lovely and made a lot of money. And it seemed like the ideal life, which was great because it was sort of an adolescent fantasy of an ideal life. You know, sports car, house on the beach, all that stuff. But I was miserable, and I was miserable. I would show my fiction to my girlfriend, and she would say, "It's good, but why does it have to be so depressing?" Anyone ever get that? Yeah, it's not exactly workshop. And so I decided to apply to graduate school and get out of there. But the turning point for me, actually, I was lying on the beach. I lived on the beach, and reading the collected stories of John Cheever, and I read The Housebreaker of Shady Hill, which is a funny story, but I started crying because the end of the story basically says that you don't have to be a thief in this case, that you're on this earth because you choose to be, and you can do what you want with your life, and you're not holden to the bones of your father or anyone else. You can do what you want. And I remember that weekend, that was like a Friday, I was weeping on the beach, and I sort of paced all weekend. I didn't sleep. I can remember eating soup out of a pan, looking out at the ocean, and I sent away for applications and decided to go to graduate school, decided to change my life. And what I always remember is that when I told people, I sold my sports car, and what I told people was, my dad said, "Well, if that's what you really want to do, you ought to do it, but you're going to miss that money." You know, and every time I would see him, he would say that. And then finally I said, "You know, Dad, this has been the hardest decision of my life. I really wish you wouldn't say it." He said, "Okay, I won't say that, but you are going to."